I mean, first of all, it was a fascinating series of presentations, and thank you very much for them. I picked out certain things which for me were really vital. One is the early point that local authorities are absolutely essential in dealing with this. So this is a localized matter, and it isn't going to work unless we have a proper partnership between the government of each country, and in this country, not only the British government, but also the government of Wales and Scotland and the North of Ireland, working with local authorities to deliver this. I slightly missed the emphasis that I'd like to have seen a bit more on the individual whose home is being organised. It seems to me that one of the fundamental problems is how do you involve the occupant in what it is that is going to be done to him or her. And it seems to me that some of the successful things that I've seen, I saw a very, very successful local authority operation in Wales, where the whole community, it was a very, very bad estate, and the whole community, save about 3 houses, which were owned by the occupants. So most of them were rented, but there were several that were owned by the occupants, and 3 of the occupants refused to have the work done. Everyone else had the work done, and the difference was utterly amazing. The 3 then felt very embarrassed that they hadn't had the work done. But when I talked to the school, the teacher I talked to said the difference is that our children come to school now in the winter without wet clothes. Which really summed up the huge change that had taken place because of this. But it was a local authority operation, supported actually by European Union funds. Of course, Britain has been stupid enough to leave the European Union. Very damaging, and I apologise always when there are other Europeans present about the disgraceful behaviour of this country. But the fact of the matter is, we do have to find ways in which local authorities can work with people to do this job. I thought that it was very interesting to see that nobody had been successful in a widespread way, which I think is a really interesting point, because politicians, of course, go around talking about retrofit as if it's a kind of easy thing to do. You sort of turn it on and put a lot of money into it and it all happens. When actually you wouldn't say that about anything else that you didn't know anything about. And this is an issue which we clearly don't know anything about, in the sense that we don't know to whom you turn for advice. Now, there are quite a number of cases, as I think the particular person speaking agreed, what she called niche examples, but some of these niche examples are quite big, and it would seem to me that there are some real lessons to learn. I'm very keen that they should be learned, because governments are very bad at doing things if they think no one's done it before. So even if they're niche, at least to see a success is an important thing. So I would hope that we would look for some of those and use them effectively. I quite agree about the training, and the problem that I have found is that it's not true that we have anything like enough people to do this job or to be trained for this job. It is true that many don't do it for all the reasons we heard. The sad thing is that some people who shouldn't do it do it and give a very bad reputation as a result. And I think that's a point I'd like to add to what has been said so far, that you really you make terrible trouble when this sort of thing is done badly by people who've got the time to do it because nobody else wants them to work for them, which is, I think, very often what happens in the poor thing. And of course, that comes back to people being involved. Very often they don't want these things done because they're frightened that the builders that they are likely to have will not be competent, will be intrusive, and they will find themselves with a mess to clear up. So, I mean, there is a huge public relations operation here, which is part and parcel of success. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I do hope that somebody will look at what the Portuguese are doing. I think some of the best renovation I've ever seen was done in Lisbon. And the particular point is something which I think we should learn from. It wasn't it wasn't this kind of retrofit. It was merely houses which had long gone past their useful date and needed to be done up, literally. But what the Portuguese did in this particular case was to put in a historian and a social scientist beforehand, and they mapped the community. And then they took people out, redid it all, and put it back. And they said to me, you know, the reason we do this is that it's more difficult to build a community than anything else. And so the one thing that you don't want to do when you're doing these major changes is to lose that. Now, I think there's some lessons here. You not only do individuals have to opt in, but the community has to feel that it's a community activity. And I think there is a huge amount of learning here from the social science point of view. And I say that as somebody who's always rather suspicious about social scientists, but there is a real issue here about how you can make people feel that they themselves are making a decision about their own home, but at the same time, they're making a decision in the context of the community upping its ability to live decently. And that really fits into my last thing, is that I do think that fighting climate change is only going to be successful if we point to people that we're not only going to beat climate change, we're going to end up with a world that is cleaner and greener and kinder than the world we live in now. And all that we do has got to fit into that matrix. So it's not just doing it because we've got to fight climate change. It's doing it because those people must live in a better place, be warmer, be happier, and also at the same time not ruin the planet.